Thank you so much for joining us today on our Kirk webinar. Very excited to have you all here and very excited to have all these panelists with us today. My name is Eric Halverson. I'm the program coordinator for the College and University Recycling Coalition, and I'll be the moderator for today's presentation. For those of you not familiar with Kirk is a member-based organization that works to grow collegiate recycling and waste reduction efforts by fostering technical information exchange and networking opportunities between staff and student leaders that are implementing programs on campuses in higher ed. Today's program is part of our free Kirk webinar series designed to highlight innovative campus programs and provide trends and perspectives on a broad range of operational and educational topics related to collegiate recycling and sustainable materials management. Today's program is the 6th webinar in our 2020 series, and we are happy to be here with it. Zero Waste Marketing, your program strategies for giveaways. So I want to thank our partner, AASHE, the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education, for the logistical and promotional support of the webinar series. And just a few housekeeping notes before we dive in. If you have problems with your audio or your video during the webinar, you can visit Zoom's Support Center by visiting support.zoom.us. And to avoid any background noise, we've placed all but our panelists' lines on mute. We encourage you to submit questions at any time, however, by using the Q&A section, which you should see at the bottom of your screen. Type us a note, and we will try to get to as many questions as possible in our time that we have today. And for any general comments or notes, please use the chat function for those kinds of conversations. Copies of today's presentation slides will be available to download on our website, and a recording will be available to stream as well within the next day or so on our website, www.curc3r.org. In the spirit of the season of giving, we are asking today, can giveaways be green? Even some programs with the best of intentions who might want to give students reusable bottles to lower plastic water bottle use, those might not have the long-term impacts that we want. And we all want to avoid seeing our own promotional materials in the waste stream during our next waste audit. So luckily, our panelists today have experience measuring and mitigating the impact of promotional materials on their campus waste stream. Using some different approaches, these presenters have experimented with the use of their promotions and have approached giveaways in a more strategic way. We'll start with a presentation from Stephanie Hebert, the Zero Waste Analyst with California State University, San Marcos, and then we will move to a presentation from the University of Kentucky to hear from both Recycling Coordinator Joanna Ashford and Graduate Assistant Sophie Beavin. We'll start with Stephanie. Stephanie Hebert is a CUS-SM graduate with a degree in business administration. She has worked in various environments, including a construction company, a sports equipment manufacturing company, federal government contractors, and most recently in the education sector for the past 10 years. In her most recent role, she revamped the CSU-SM's high-performing recycling program to a broader zero waste effort. So welcome, Stephanie. Stephanie, you're on mute.
Hi there. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk about our Sustainable Swag program over at Cal State San Marcos. I'll go ahead and get my screen share going. Let's see. All right, are we on? We good?
We're looking great.
Okay, great. So I wanted to talk a little bit first about Cal State San Marcos. We are a small campus in the CSU system. We're one of the newer ones. We were established back in 1989. You're probably more familiar with one of our sister campuses, SDSU. They're much bigger and they are on the map. They are the lowest on there on the map of California, but CSUSM is just north of that. We're still considered San Diego County, just the north part. As I said, our campus is rather small. It's roughly 300 acres. We only have about 20 buildings. We do have on and off campus dormitories. This fall, we had about 16,000 students enrolled. Our undergraduate population consists of the age group mainly of 17 to 22-year-olds. And 53% of our graduates are the first ones in their families to earn degrees. As Eric said, I have a very expansive background in my work experience and my education. It's not actually in sustainability, so this was a big learning curve for me as well. I just feel like being a good steward of the planet is important. I wanted to post some fun pictures. These are a couple different events that I've participated in. The picture on the left is a super STEM event. You can see it's very fun, it's colorful. It's, for this event, we go with Dr. Seuss, the Lorax theme, and I'll get more into that a little bit later. The picture down below is from one of our Journey to Zero Waste Day events. And this is an annual event we have every fall. The bags that you see there are actually made out of recycled plastic bottles. And so that was part of our programming event. Even though we're a small campus, you may be familiar with us because we actually have won Recycle Mania a couple years back. As Eric stated, we have a strong recycling program. And so part of one of my biggest goals coming onto the position was to change it from just being recycling focused into a holistic zero waste program. So a big part of that was looking at some of the swag that we were purchasing for our events, because we didn't want to just push recycling. We wanted it to be more overall sustainable. As part of the program, we have a lunchtime event, and it's pizza and drinks like that. And one of my very first lessons that the previous person who held this position told me was that he had purchased some inexpensive cups. And unfortunately, because they were of low quality, even though they were recyclable, and they ended up being one-time use. So, and that was just, kind of a fail and a big lesson to learn, that make sure that you are buying quality so that people know that they want to keep it. They want to use it more than just once. Also, know your audience is a big lesson. Again, my education is in business, so I went back to Marketing 101. Know your audience. At a college campus, you're going to have swag. Lots of swag is going to be given out. And even though your audience is, your campus is obviously like what, 85% of it is students. So that is very important, but also don't forget that other factor of your staff and your faculty. Your faculty, what I often do before our events is I will try and get a sample bag of all of my swag together. I will give it to faculty to ask them, announce it out to your students, show them some of the sample stuff that we're giving out, come out to my event, get it for free. And your staff will be there 5 years, 10 years, even though we are a newer campus. A lot of our staff are there for 20 years. So when you give them out that sample bag, that show them, this is some of the cool stuff that you can get for free, but not only that, you can buy sustainable swag. So, those are also people who are going to campaign your message for you. So things I like to think about when I'm purchasing my swag: what is trendy, what is going to be kept, not that one cup that's going to be disposed of right away, and what's going to be used, because you don't want something that's just going to be thrown on a shelf and forgotten about, or it's going to go in the back of a drawer, and at move out, they're just going to toss it. So for several years, we did give out water bottles with recycled content, but then we realized that more people were bringing their own metal bottles, and they wanted higher quality bottles. So I was just like, I can't afford to give out bottles of that quality. So we stopped giving out water bottles and looked for different ideas. One of the ideas was plants. A lot of people like these little plant cups. They were seeds. We gave out different seed types, whether they were basil and chives, or just something fun like some marigold flowers. Other considerations are, what are your materials made out of? Several years ago, we had a student who hosted a program that was No Straw February. And so the following year, I gave out metal straws. And then shortly after that, I was speaking with someone from our dining services, and he talked about how many boxes of plastic utensils they went through every semester. And so, it's just imagining for our campus, we can't recycle plastic utensils. So all of those plastic utensils in the end were going to the landfill. So I found some bamboo utensil sets, and part of it was not just having the bamboo utensil sets, but also making sure that they're in a bag so they're easy to carry around and they can be kept clean. The picture on the right, I know it's a little blurry. I can show you one after the discussion, but it's a keychain, and it's the wood on it is bamboo, and the metal around it is a bicycle chain. And I thought this item told a really good story, and that was part of it. Is the owner of the company is a cyclist, and he realized that as part of his hobby, how many bicycle chains he was disposing of. So his idea was, how can I make something that I typically dispose of, something that people will want, something that people will use. So he made this, he makes bicycle chains, he makes coasters. And this was something that, like I said, I want this to be where people will look at it and go, well, what am I disposing a lot of? How can I, maybe make this something that people will want, a conversation piece. These other items that I have here, our waste hauler actually does characterization studies for us. And so we realized another item that was big in our waste stream was Ziploc bags from people bringing snacks to campus. So the item on the left is a reusable snack bag. It's canvas, cotton, and with a plastic interior. And so even if you were trying to be sustainable and reuse a Ziploc bag, these canvas bags can either go in the washing machine or in the dishwasher and be used over and over. The blue pin type item is, it actually unscrews and it has screwdriver bits. And we wanted to, encourage, fixing things and reusing things instead of just throwing them away. And then another item for our campus that's a big part of our waste stream was paper towels. And we were removing some of our paper towel dispensers, and we got some negative feedback. So I figured that this would be a good way to mitigate it. I think these were marketed as sports towels. They have a little hook on them, so you can hook them on to like a backpack or a purse. And I just figured, people could use them either after washing their hands, or one of the concerns was, opening doorknobs. Or they could also be used, in lieu of a napkin. So those were kind of just some of the things that I would think about for our campus. And it's a matter of just, determining, looking at what some of your waste stream, what's going to be reused by your community. So I know it's really hard to find sustainable products, and sometimes it feels like you're looking for a unicorn, and then not only are you looking for a unicorn, but you're on a tight budget, so you need that unicorn on sale. The way I think about it is, it's just like my zero waste program. Zero waste, it's a constant improvement. You're constantly looking for ways just to do better. And so it's the same thing with swag, and just know, you're sending out messages to your entire community about, how you can do a little bit better here and there. So after all of that, I wanted to talk about the picture on the right, going back to our Super STEM event. Once I thought I had everything dialed in for our college community, I was asked to participate in a Super STEM event, which is a wonderful opportunity. It's one of the biggest events on our campus, except for my audience completely changed. Instead of having a college community, this is focused on our neighborhood community. It has approximately anywhere between 10,000 to 15,000 students on campus, or not students, but our community on campus one day. But instead of being college students, it is elementary, middle, and high school students. So I didn't feel like any of the swag that I normally purchased was going to be appropriate for this audience. So this is what I found for them. The picture on the left is exactly as it was advertised. It is a wallet. It used to be a plastic bottle that's been reformatted into, it's like a foamy scuba foamy material. And I put our zero waste program on there. Our goals are, and I was pleasantly surprised that when I had some leftovers and I tabled with it on campus, that actually some of our college students did like it. They've said it was the perfect size to hold an ID and a key. So even though when you think you have your audience dialed in, you'll be surprised. They may like some other things. This picture here, I wanted to show about some of the items that were, you know, good and bad that I purchased previously. The green cup on the side there, like I said, I stopped giving out water bottles because everybody was buying Hydro Flask and I couldn't afford a Hydro Flask. That was actually made out of corn plastic, so that was, people liked that. The blue circle item there in the center, it's actually supposed to look like an earth. It's a hot pack, a hot or cold pack. The mom and me thought that was going to be a great idea for our students who are new away from home. You know, if they get hurt or they're not feeling well, that would work for them. But at the end of the day, when that is at the end of its life cycle, it is going to go in the trash, and I didn't take that into consideration. But I did get some positive feedback that people really liked it as a stress reliever because of all of those little balls, and they were fun to squish. The green pin right next to it, the blue ball at the top of it is a globe. It's in a little earth pin. So I thought that was fun to, you know, just kind of spin around, a novelty item. But also at the end of the day, it's not made out of recycled material and it would go into landfill. So, you know, I'm still learning too. And, you know, like I said, just try and do better every chance you get. The next item over is, it's a coaster and it's made out of leftover pieces of cork. So I had several people like that. And then down below is that, that pin that has the screwdriver bits. I usually don't redo or have the same swag items just because I want to keep stuff fresh, but I had so many people ask about this pin that I did do it another year, I think 2 or 3 years later. So some of my final tips that I would like to pass on to you that I've learned is start your search early, at least a few months early. Because I've been doing this for a few years, I get promotional emails all the time, and I will go through them, and I will keep a spreadsheet with links of the things that I think potentially may be useful in the future for my events. Another thing is to make sure you talk to your vendors. If you see something you like, but you have questions about it, even if it's not in your price point, reach out because they may have inventory that they're not listing or just that you're not finding. And also make sure that you tell them that whatever you're looking for, it has to be sustainable. And maybe you won't be able to get it this year, but maybe they'll be able to get it for you next year. It gives them some leverage to say that more people are asking for sustainable items. And probably the most important thing that I would say is verify recycled content before you make your purchase. There have been many times where there are items that I thought were wonderful. And when I reached out to the vendor to ask about recycled content, they would go back to the manufacturer and tell me that no, unfortunately, it wasn't made from recycled content, but it was recyclable. And those are two very different things. So I've also seen an advertisement for a sustainable backpack, which I was really excited about. And I contacted the vendor and asked about it. And they said, well, it was sustainable because it could be used more than once. And I don't know anybody who uses a backpack once and then they just dispose of it. So, that is all I have for you today. I hope that was helpful to. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or want to discuss the matters further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. We've got some great questions coming in for you. I
Okay.
think the first one was on one of the pictures you shared. You shared a recycling goal of 80% by 2020, and people were curious about if you had succeeded and if COVID had anything to do with interrupting it too.
Yeah, well, we ended up changing. We had our benchmark weights reevaluated several years ago because we changed the way we were doing our recycling program. And so I would say that probably we did not meet our recycling goals at that point. So we have a strong recycling program. We used to do all of our sorting on campus, but we had a sorting facility open up right nearby. And so our metrics have changed a lot. And then of course, COVID just throws everything off.
Yeah, definitely. And this next question is asking, have you been able to get other departments that buy giveaways to kind of encourage them to make their purchases more sustainable?
Yes, I definitely have. And that was a bonus. One of the things the bamboo silverware set, I actually had some grant money come in, and with that bamboo utensil set, I partnered with our HR department, and they bought a lunch box and a recycled cup. And they gave it away to new employees.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
There's a couple more questions coming in through the chat. So I think I'll encourage Stephanie to take a look at those and answer those as they come in. And we will move on to our next presentation. Up next, we have a great presentation from the University of Kentucky. Our panelists, starting with Joanna Ashford. Joanna has been the recycling coordinator at the University of Kentucky for the past 3 years. She has a degree in biology and environmental science. When not at work, you can find her spending time with her husband and 2 sons. Sophie Beavin is a graduate assistant with UK's Office of Sustainability with a focus on student programming. Sophie is pursuing a master's of public administration with an emphasis in environmental policy. All right, y'all, take it away.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. Let me get this pulled up. Perfect. Well, we are excited to be here and talk a little bit about zero waste strategies. Ours, I will say, is a little bit different than Stephanie's. I appreciate all of her wealth of information about the giveaways. Just a little bit of feedback about what we are here at University of Kentucky. We had this past fall a little over 30,000 students enrolled. We do have over 800 acres on campus. Beautiful, if I do say so myself. Our campus is a little bit different than others in that we have 3 different hospitals on campus. And so we also have a full healthcare enterprise with facilities and clinics. So it does create a lot of opportunity for various types of education and outreach. 12,000 staff, 2,000 faculty, and we are a public research institution. So like I said, lots of opportunities. Today, I'd like to talk with you all about a campaign we launched in 2018 called Help UK POP, and POP stands for Pass on Plastics. We designed this to really encourage our campus community to think about single-use plastics in particular. It's been a hot button topic for a long time, single-use plastics still is today. And so we really wanted to hone in and focus on what our students are consuming and what are they throwing away, and how could we potentially impact their behavior in a positive way. We asked campus members, specifically students, to volunteer to take a pledge or make a commitment to use 3 specific items: 1, a reusable straw, 2, a reusable bag, and 3, a reusable water bottle. And so the model of this became, we wanted to see if we purchase these items, 1, are students interested in it? If we provide all 3, will we see behavior change? And so part of this also included a baseline study that went along with this pledge to see what items do students currently have, how much are they using those items, and then if we provide those items for them, do we have behavior change? Are they actually using the items that we provide them? So why these 3 items? First of all, I think we can all agree those are probably the most items we see used on campus that are single-use plastic. I think you all will also remember that video of the turtle with a plastic straw that went viral a couple years ago. And so this was definitely very topical. It was in the news, it was on social media. And so, you know, Stephanie talked about that, what's trendy. And so in 2018, reusable straws were definitely very trendy. In addition to that, different industries made commitments to ban single-use plastics. Different cities, different universities were moving towards banning single-use plastic bottles. We're still seeing that today and moving towards that. So we kind of had this trifecta of a situation where it was definitely topical and trendy. Students were involved and engaged in those conversations. We had the perfect partnerships in this in a lot of cases. And then this was also the first time that a reusable straw was given away on campus. And so we had a lot of people approaching us and talking to us about reusable straws. One note on the reusable straws in particular, and one thing that Stephanie had talked about of making sure that items are made out of recycled material. Another thing I'll remind people is a lot of times the vendors will individually package the materials in a plastic bag of some sort. And so when we got our order of reusable straws, every single straw was in a tiny plastic bag. And so here we are talking about single-use plastics and eliminating single-use plastics, and all of our metal straws were in a single-use plastic. So the next time we reordered, I actually requested that they not be put in that, and the vendor actually complied with that. So you can have utilize your buying power to become more sustainable. So with this whole campaign, we wanted to really focus our messaging on data. And since it was very topical and was very trendy, a lot of the information we wanted to pass along was, what are some impacts that we're seeing globally? So how many bags are used, what straws are used, how much water bottles are getting recycled or not getting recycled on a global perspective. But then we also wanted to drill that down so that students understood their everyday impact, and that yes, this can be a big global conversation, but it also needed to be an individual conversation, and a conversation that we had at UK. So what is our impact as a campus? How many bottles are we using? How many are getting thrown away, or how many are getting recycled? How many straws are we using? And then what is our plastic bag use? So we wanted to be very, very mindful about the messaging that we had. Another really key component to this strategy was the partnership. I mentioned that as this perfect trifecta with this campaign. My office, UK Recycling, partnered with Sophie's office, UK Sustainability. We also have excellent partners in UK Dining, and then our Student Sustainability Council, which helped with a little bit with the funding. So there was this beautiful partnership with different areas across campus. And so not only did that really strengthen our messaging, but it really helped with our communication and getting this information out to all the different aspects on campus. Some of the partners that I communicate with might not be the partners that UK Dining communicates with. So we were able to really reach a broader audience on campus by breaking out of some of these silos and working with some of our allies and partners on campus.
So we had 3 major goals for this campaign, and the first one Joanna has talked a lot about, which was around behavior change. Like Joanna said, we wanted to encourage the campus community to think about decreasing their consumption of these single-use plastic items by providing them with those reusable alternatives to help them make that switch. Our second main goal was to collect data. because we really wanted a strong understanding of how many people we're reaching, and also to just get that baseline or benchmark understanding of what items the UK community did or did not already have. And also, we knew what we wanted to accomplish with these reusable giveaways, which was to decrease single-use plastic item consumption. But the data collection was a way to help substantiate those efforts and track our success. And finally, our third main goal with this campaign was to create an undergraduate research opportunity. So when I was an undergrad, I was involved with this research effort. So it was really great to get that research experience and to gain some of those skills. And additionally, it was really exciting because this was the first time that facilities partnered with an undergraduate research project. So that was also a great goal to come out of this campaign as well. So I will quickly run through the program timeline so you guys can get a good sense of how this whole program really worked and flowed. So our efforts started in the summer of 2018 at our freshman orientation. And at these events, we only gave out those metal straws to incoming freshmen. And this was a way to just sort of plant that seed of, incoming students to think about reducing their single-use plastic item consumption, and also as a way to just attract them to our tables because, like Joanna said, a reusable straw had never been given out before, so it was a really popular item, and it was honestly kind of hard to keep up with the amount of students coming up to the tables. And so then these efforts continued into the semester, and it started at K-Week, which is our week-long freshman orientation kickoff event at the start of the semester. And this is when we started implementing the survey and the pledge in exchange for all three of those reusable items. And then we continued that into the semester by presenting at over 20 UK 101 introduction classes to freshmen. And then we also had many tabling events at just different events and festivals on campus, and also at high traffic areas just to meet as many people as possible. And throughout all of these efforts, we also made a really cognizant decision to emphasize outreach around this as well. So we flooded social media. We had graphics and napkin holders and on TV screens throughout campus, and we put it in our newsletters, all of these different outreach strategies. So that way students would see these messaging multiple times, and then hopefully it would stick better. And then in November, we actually sent out follow-up surveys to track behavior change to understand if students were still using these items and how often. And so we got almost 500 responses for that. And then we sent a second follow-up survey in February to measure long-term behavior change, asking the same exact questions. And then in the spring, we did our data analysis. So this is our results from that initial survey that students took in exchange for the three reusable items. So we had nearly 2,000 students take this survey, and the data you see here is only for our undergraduate students, but they made up the huge majority of the students that we reached since we targeted the freshman population so heavily. So the top right graph is about reusable water bottles. And so you can see that nearly 51% of students already had a reusable water bottle and were using them multiple times a day, whereas the bottom two show straw and bag usage. So on the left, nearly 70% never used a reusable straw before, and on the bottom right, 45% had never used a reusable bag before. So this data, it's been really helpful because it has influenced future efforts around plastic usage and just our giveaway strategy in general. So we've talked a lot about water bottles, but this data has really proved that most students already have water bottles and they use them most days of the week, if not multiple times a day. So water bottles are definitely something that we are going to be staying away from as a giveaway in the future. However, we're not quite ready to move away from other reusable items as giveaways, since our data has shown that students may not already have these items, so these would be less wasteful giveaways to give out to students. Oh, Joanna, you're muted.
I'll make one note on the reusable straws. And giving those surveys, I noticed during the K-Week, the orientation events, a lot of students were saying that they had a reusable straw, which I thought was unique since we had just discovered this giveaway. And here it was the freshmen from freshman orientation had brought it to campus with them. So they had received it months prior, yet they were still using it and felt it was important to bring with them to campus. So it definitely showed that that item did work. So a few of the lessons learned from this campaign, as I mentioned, our POP strategy or our POP campaign really hit the trifecta, being trendy, having the right partnership, having the right funding. And that's a really hard model to sustain, to be able to like stay on trend, what's topical, what's happening. Like that gets really exhausting to kind of keep up with. And then once something is trendy, you know, what gets done with that item? I think straws are still being used, but we've realized that it's not one that we can sustain in our offices. I think COVID has also done, if there's anything good that we can take out of COVID, is it's helped us reevaluate how we do education and outreach, how we communicate and message with our campus. And so one thing that has come out of the conversations is definitely continued partnership, but also this idea of using PIPs or positive impact points. There's a full program with an app, and this provides students the opportunities to do positive impacts or to do a positive thing on campus. And when they do that behavior, whether it's recycling or riding their bike or whatever those that item is, they get points. And then based on those points, they can then decide what giveaway they want. So, you know, not every student wants a t-shirt or not every student wants a water bottle, but maybe they want a gift card to a Kroger, and they can help with, you know, food insecurity, or maybe they want money towards tuition. And so some of these rewards through PIPs can actually affect some of the issues that our students are dealing with. Another conversation that we've had, and I'll be brief to talk about an example of this, is moving from a takeaway model. So instead of setting up a table and asking people to come to your table to get a giveaway and then go away with it, we'd like to move towards a drawing in model. So what we realized is with that tabling, the people who are going to come up to a table that has recycling or zero waste on it are people who are already interested in zero waste or already interested in recycling. And so that's not necessarily the group of people that we need to be talking to. And so how do we reach that audience that we actually need to be talking to get them involved more in our programs? And so this past November for America Recycles Day, what we did was bring 17 bales of cardboard to a very high trafficked area on campus. This is outside of our library. And those 17 bales of cardboard represent what we know is still going to the landfill each week on campus. And so it's this in-your-face display to show people this volume of cardboard is being sent to the landfill instead of being recycled. And so we had lots of messaging around it. And so there wasn't an actual giveaway. There wasn't anything that they took away with them. But I'm positive that people that walked through there, it's hard to miss 17 bales of cardboard. And so we're looking at these different ways to really hit a larger portion of our audience, make sure that we keep our audience engaged, but also being sustainable and making sure that we're being mindful of what's being sent to the landfill. So with that, I will put my information and Sophie's information up here, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. I learned so much there. We have plenty of questions to throw at y'all. You mentioned that there is a medical complex on the campus, and people were wondering if you have any examples of working with that part of your campus, and then how much that is playing into your work.
Yes, we definitely have a great partnership with UK Healthcare. It's a different part of campus. They do produce a lot of waste. We understand that's part of what they do. We have really excellent partners there. And actually each year we do a sustainability fair at the hospital for all of our partners there. It's usually around Earth Month. We do have giveaways there. Typically people like t-shirts at the hospital. So we've got a thriving partnership with our nurses. They're the ones that are on the ground. They know what's being thrown away. They're kind of our eyes and ears in the hospital. We do have a really robust recycling program there for a lot of the single-use plastics that of course don't come in contact with patients. So I'm always happy to talk healthcare recycling and sustainability for anybody that is interested. Feel free to send me an email. I could talk all day about it.
Yeah, and that contact information is right there. So please go ahead, do that. Some questions here about the survey itself. One question here is asking from the data results slide, of those results of the survey, how much were those results from that first survey that you gave away, or is that kind of like from the latter one to show a kind of improvement of sorts?
Yeah, the data results on the slide that we shared is from the initial survey. So the survey that students took in exchange for the 3 reusable items. And what this survey asked was if they already had any of these reusable items, so a bottle, bag, or straw, and if so, how often they used them. So like, for example, for the bottle, it shows that 50% already had one, but they used it once or more per day. But you know, some people already have them, but they just use it 2 to 3 times per week. So.
Okay. And on the survey again, some people are asking how you set up the survey, like actually how you rolled it out. Did you use a kind of tablet when you took the first one, and then did you take contact information to do that follow-up later on?
Yeah, so at the tabling events and class presentations, we brought the giveaway items with us, and then the survey was on a bunch of iPads. And so we would watch students as they filled out the survey and then hand them the bag full of the other reusable items. And then for the 2 follow-up surveys, we just sent that in an email to them.
We were able to capture their email address through the pledge form. So part of that initial survey also was the pledge and contact information.
Thank you. Some more general questions. I'll throw this out to Stephanie and the University of Kentucky team. When you're using your people are asking about kind of like purchasing power, and both of you mentioned that in your discussion, like reaching out to the vendors themselves, making sure that they're sustainable things, and making sure that they know that there's a demand. People are asking about also like local items and how much that plays into your purchasing of these materials and looking into those as a policy on campus.
Yeah, the keychain, that was local. I believe he was in Washington, so that was part of it as well. It was, you know, it was a small business, it was local, but I can definitely say that it is hard, especially when you're getting customized items. A lot of this stuff, sad to say, it is coming from China, so it is a struggle. And that's like, I'm like, you know, all you can do is try and do better. And if you have the time and if you have the funding to do something local, more power to you, but it is a struggle.
Yeah, I agree. At the university, we are tied to a certain vendor list. And so we have to be a little bit more strategic in how we purchase things through that vendor list. But we do try and ask for things that are locally sourced. Like I said, we do require that if we purchase something that's plastic, it's made of recycled content. And then we also have those follow-up questions to make sure that that packaging isn't individually packaged in single-use plastic. So we struggle a little bit with that local channel just because we, of course, have to abide by policies and procedures of the certain vendors we have to be able to purchase from.
All right. This next question, I think a couple of people put in, if you had considered kind of expanding or changing your kind of giveaway, like you mentioned the PIPS program at University of Kentucky and being creative about drawing people in. I guess the idea is creating more of an experience for people as a way to get involved in sustainability, rather than a giveaway, and if you're exploring or thinking about those kinds of programs in light of what you learned from these strategies that both campuses have presented today. What are thoughts on that kind of strategy?
Yeah, so the PIPS conversation came about actually through a student that approached the Office of Sustainability, and he brought up that thousands, if not more than that, is spent on giveaways each year. And the student was saying, I don't need another t-shirt, but I do need help with my food insecurity, or I don't need help with another water bottle, but I do need help with tuition. And so that's been kind of the conversation that we have started to have of, if we're here for the students and we're about students, then we need to be focusing on their needs and what they are requesting. And so we're definitely in the initial stages of that. There is quite a financial piece to that. And then there's also just a complete remodeling of how we draw people in, right? If we're going to be doing tablings, but we're doing PIPs where we're asking people to do things, how do you draw people to a table without any swag on it? So that's part of where the other conversation about having these bigger displays, being more visual, has come into play as a way to draw people into our table without swag.
For me, I feel that it's part of my responsibility. My program is the Zero Waste program. It's actually part of the operations side of the house, and there's a different Office of Sustainability. So for me, I'm focused more on, reducing waste and forward thinking. So my swag, a lot of things is, I'll say, if you don't like it, please don't take it. That's one of my first things. Encouraging, say no if you don't want it. But also I feel it's a responsibility to show my campus that sustainable swag is possible. It can be cool, it can be fun. That is it for me, that, because it's a college campus, and it's a big part of the college experience for the students and also for the staff and faculty. It's just part of our world. I don't think it's going to go away.
Thank you for those thoughts. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of line to walk, like, drawing people in, creating these different experiences for people, and still trying with this larger goal of getting to zero waste and sustainably managed materials on our campuses. A couple, just one quick COVID question. In light of budget constraints or anything, is that affecting your approach to giveaways or experiences moving forward as a kind of engagement tool?
I was gonna say, Stephanie, you want that one first? Who's gonna go there? I will say that the Office or UK Recycling is funded a little bit differently at UK than other universities. We are funded based on an environmental fee that is taxed onto everything that is purchased at the university. And so if you take a step back and remember, I talked about we have 3 different hospitals on campus. So every time something is purchased, that's very small environmental fee is tacked on, and that is distributed between UK Recycling, UK Surplus, and then environmental health and safety. And so it was really a brilliant idea that the university had, that they are going to make people accountable for the waste that they purchase when they purchase it, not at the end of life when nobody wants to take responsibility for it. So I will say we are very lucky at UK from the funding standpoint, because we have not been as heavily hit as I know some other programs have been. But budget is definitely always a conversation. We do want to be mindful that since we are funded through that fee, that we are handling it and managing it responsibly.
Yeah, COVID. So for my campus, we have had no in-person events. I am not allowed to purchase anything at this point in time. So yeah, it's definitely been an unusual year. It's been very hard to run a program and, communicate with people about what we're doing, and, how do you go zero waste when there's very few people on campus, so yeah, programming. It's all Zoom meetings.
Absolutely. And I think
teaching
like,
people how to recycle at home, but that's about
Mm.
it. There's no zero waste events. There's no trainings. There's no classroom talks.
yeah, absolutely. That was a big concern we saw in our surveys and the Kirk about doing outreach in a different kind of way and engaging people on these kinds of issues in different ways. So um, definitely things to keep in mind as we're adjusting, and we'll continue to adjust for the foreseeable future. Let's look at some last other questions. If other panelists see a question that they want to jump onto, let us know. I know that, Sophie, you unmuted yourself at one point. I didn't know if you wanted to share anything.
It was covered. We're good.
All right, great. One here is, do you provide guides to other departments for sustainable ideas on giveaways?
Whenever I'm asked, I do provide guidelines. I've sent something over to, it's actually considered an auxiliary, but our university student union. So they do a lot of student life campaigning and stuff like that. So I did provide some guidance to them about sustainable purchasing.
Yeah, we created a green events guide specific around waste that we have on our website, and it does address giveaways, ways that people can be more sustainable in their giveaways. We have started, well, I should say before COVID, we started working with our student activities board and our events management system departments to try and get that as part of, if you register for an event on campus, that you automatically get this information. We had just started that conversation right before COVID. So unfortunately, those conversations have been halted, but the goal is to definitely include some of that information and create a full sustainability events guide to include in these event planning processes. We do have a staff appreciation day on campus that we work really closely with. We're on the planning team for that. And so we do have communication with vendors at some of these larger events to encourage them to recycle their cardboard boxes that these materials come in, but then also have that conversation before the event to ask them to be as sustainable as possible in their giveaways.
Another thing too is we're likely going to be having a sustainability intern with our purchasing department next year. So that will hopefully start the larger conversation around creating actual policies around purchasing at the university. So that is also a direction we're hoping to move in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Those purchasing conversations can be big ones, I know, and not always in our power, but sometimes are in certain ways. So thank you for those thoughts. We are gonna wrap it up, and I'll make a few last notes before we go, and then we will be able to thank you all and move on. Some events that I want to let people in the audience know about coming up soon. The Kirk members meeting is a meeting we like to do every year at AASHE, but seeing as that was canceled, we moved it to this online event. We're going to review the work that Kirk has done in the past year, and then talk about our strategy and what we want the coalition of Kirk to look like moving forward into the new year in 2021. That registration is available on our website. Anyone is welcome to join if you're interested. Whether you know you're a member or not, it's really just a title we like to say for people who are involved in Kirk and enjoy what we do. So please come and join us for that. We'd love to have you join that conversation. And then our 2021 webinar series will be announced very soon in the new year. We have some great things in the works, and we're excited to share those with you and share some more amazing presentations like this one. And thank you all for the amazing support you've given us this year. Finally, I want to thank once again our webinar partner, AASHE, for the support of the 2020 webinar series, which has been amazing. And then one last time, I'd like to thank Stephanie, Joanna, Sophie for your presentations today. Once again, in the audience, if you want to look for their presentations and a recording of this, you can visit our website, www.curc3r.org, within the next day or so. So thank you all. Have a good afternoon and enjoy this season of giving.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.